Carrie Cassidy, and there she is. Carrie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Really good.
So can you just wait 1 second? Sorry. I left my coffee in the other room.
She's a busy lady.
Yes, she is. She's had Project Camelot for over 18 years.
It's the information on her site is just phenomenal.
It is
treasure
fabulous.
trove.
I encourage everyone, if you're not a member, and I am a member, to go to her site and become a member, because her information just is invaluable.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. We only charge $3 a month if you sign up for a year, which as I say is less than the price of a latte. And I believe what happens is that we have a whole 1,000 videos that are completely free. Then what happens with, ever since YouTube demonetized us and deleted us, which is like 2 or 3 years ago, we had to start being subscription for shows that are up. So I do a live show. Any show I do, is available for like 30 days for free, and then it goes behind the what we call the firewall, and it costs membership. So that's the only way we can survive. So yeah, just putting a little plug in here, just because people may think it just doesn't matter if they subscribe or not. You get tons of free stuff, but if you want the current shows, they're only available for free for about 30 days. And then, like I say, they go behind the paywall.
What would you like to talk about today? Because you sent me something regarding the U.S. Digital Identity Bill, which passed through the Senate, the Improving Digital Identity Act, which passed through the U.S. Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee after a vote of 11-1.
Okay. Well, I may I ask who the co-hosts are, because this is a new kind of arrangement, and I don't know them, and so is that possible?
Yes. Tara Crete, Sacred Valley Podcast. Can you give a synopsis of who you are and some of your accomplishments?
Hi, Carrie. Really nice to meet you, or as we say in New Hampshire, wicked nice to meet you. I've been podcasting for a couple of years now. I'm just one of the many who just jumped in and have something to say. And more than I have something to say, I just want to listen and have people like you on, Carrie, and people who are so implemented in this truth movement. So I've been kicked off of YouTube for having Patel Patriot on about devolution. So I feel like I've earned my badge of honor. And I've had Penny on my show, and I'm just really happy to be here. I'm nice to meet both you, Carrie, and Teresa as well. I haven't met you yet.
And you also are a life coach, correct?
Oh gosh, I'm a lot of things. Yes, I'm a life coach. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a real estate agent. I wear a lot of hats.
And Teresa, can you introduce yourself to Carrie and tell her a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I really know your website. I've known it for a long time. It's a great website. So my background is in the UFO field. I was the first lobbyist who was registered on the UFO issue. I was a member of MUFON for 15 years. I was a field investigator, and then I was state director for Maryland's MUFON. And right now I'm lobbying Congress on the UFO, UAP issue, and Havana syndrome issues.
Okay, very good.
So what happened was that David wanted to just switch all of the 5th hours. I did not want to drop the 5th hour because of the important people like yourself that are coming on the show. And he's going into the studio. He's still watching, but he's going in the studio doing more work on the web, and then also documentaries, etc.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, whatever you guys arrange, but I do have quite a bit of stuff today, because actually right before I came on the show today, someone sent me a really intense email, or not an email, but it came in a certain way, and I want to share it with you. I'm afraid it's not good news, but it's, we have to know the good with the bad, right? So,
yeah.
And this doesn't even mean it's true, okay? But this is what I'm being told, and I thought everyone would like to hear. So I guess what I'm going to do here is read it, because I don't have a way to exactly post it, I don't think. I can kind of put a little bit of this. So, well, I think it's better if I just read it, and then maybe I can give it to you in so you can post it. And I will put it on my site as well. And then I want to talk about the article I wrote, and that somehow dovetails kind of perfectly with this. So it's a friend of a friend. So it's actually one of my sources that I've known for quite a long time now, who is himself fairly deep in on the financial side, has a friend who, and this is what it reads, who considers themselves an insider. Pray this is not true. I'm now reading what the person wrote. I'm giving up on Juan and company. I was with a group of men 2 weeks ago who were connected to the highest levels in the Democrat Party. They claim that the fix is in on 2024, that Biden is guaranteed to win. He will deploy the same strategy as 2020 and come out infrequently to campaign or debate because his victory is guaranteed. Republicans have been unable to correct issues from the 2020 election. The DOJ and Supreme Court will not interfere, nor will the military, which has been emasculated under Biden. Now, this is this person's point of view. LTG Flynn, this is the key thing. Flynn told us over the weekend that no Republican candidate for president in 2024 will win, basically because the fix is in again. It makes no difference who the Republican candidate is, and the Middle East is heating up again with Iran beginning to flex its muscle, taking tankers and shooting down drones. I can't promise that any of these things will happen, but I share them with you as an incentive to conclude our activities sooner other than later, to take care of our families and take care of actions that we need to help others. Lots of bad things are about to happen no matter what. God bless. Now, hold on one second, because there's another little caveat part in this. So I want to grab that. I'm trying to do this a little, it's kind of logistically a little bit difficult. So hold on for me a minute here. Okay. So normally I don't send, this is my source. So prior to that, that was their friend. I don't send this type of stuff to you, but the guy that sent it is as high up in the eye-to-eye world as you can get. And they do chat with Flynn. Guys I work with are beyond frustrated. They feel Junior has tunnel vision and will not press because of the numbers issue. And that would be his reliance on this 80-20 thing. And he says, my thoughts too. Now, that is, well, I mean, I think that, I don't know if Juan is going to listen to this. Unlikely, I suppose, but he does have a team of people that could listen. And this comes from General Flynn, according to this person. Now, my source would not be wasting my time with this. I after my dealings with him for several years. So just saying that this is not just a rumor. This isn't just a lie. Now it could be a targeted, hit coming from the dark side, infiltration, that sort of thing. We don't know. Okay. But I just want to put that out there. Now, if that's true, that's obviously extremely dire. And that's where we get into my article. So anybody want to have a reply to that? Because it's really, I guess, insane, for me to think about that.
You know what, Carrie, I was talking about this with someone just 2 days ago, that the fact that Biden has already thrown his hat into the ring when he is so defunct, he is so inept, and it's so very obvious that this guy can't win any kind of a contest, especially another fake election. The fact that they've propped him up again and he's acting like he's going to win, that tells me that they've already made up their mind in a way. That's kind of what I was already thinking. Now, I don't like thinking that, because what are the implications for us in our country? I don't think any of us ever anticipated this charade would go on as long as it has.
Okay, and Teresa or Penny, do you want to weigh in before
I'm just going to say weigh in and say it's just absolutely frightening. The thought of another administration under Biden is just horrific. Teresa?
Well, I don't think it's any surprise. I'm afraid to say too much because I think you're seeing a lot of political persecution. But I think, yeah, I was inside the Beltway for over 20 years, and I think that we have an illusion that we're in control, but we're really not. And there is a deep state, and they control things, and they decide what's going to happen, and then they have the people who control them. And so it's horrifying. And it's especially horrifying when you start to really realize that's what you're seeing. But I don't think it's very surprising, and I appreciate you bringing that information to us.
Okay, well, I appreciate your feedback. I didn't know what I was gonna get when I brought it out here. I don't know what the audience is gonna think. I will say that that does not coincide with my dreams of the future. So this is on the good side.
Mine either, Larry.
Um,
None of us saw either.
okay, so and I don't know, I have had so many dreams of the future. Now I don't know whether that's another timeline, some fake mind control thing being sent out, or what is going on, but at least that doesn't coincide with my dreams of the future. However, I had these certain dreams that said that Trump would run, and this was before the 2020 steal. That's insane, so insane that he would run for 2024. No one wanted to hear it back then. Turns out my dream was true. So for what it's worth. Now looking at this situation with Flynn is often sort of a bellwether for either side. I've talked about this with some other hosts and people behind the scenes as well. He seems to be playing a role, and so you might call it a devil's advocate or whatever it happens to be. So when I hear it comes, this really is coming from Flynn. Now, the people that know Flynn know what his mission is, know what his job is, right? So he may be actually putting for this group of people who are, based on my source, high up in that pecking order, sort of behind the scenes, that he may be purposefully misleading them into thinking a certain way, right?
Yeah.
So we have to look at the source. The real source of this information is Flynn. And that is problematic because if you've been following him, you will know that he occasionally says things that just don't fit the narrative whatsoever. And that has to be an intentional thing, in my view, as far as, because it's a white hat operation. I get all kinds of information about Flynn coming my way. So I think he is playing a double role. I'm hoping that his real loyalties are with the white hats. I think he's controlled by the white hats, for all intents and purposes, to the degree that they control anyone, I suppose. And that, would include McCarthy, in the House and so on.
Now, are you aware of what he does, what General Flynn does with the Great Reawakening tour with Clay Clark?
Well, when you say what he does, I have heard him make speeches that I object to, several of the things he says on stage. As part of that, I'm very aware of the Reawakening tour. I tried to get on their speaker roster and have been barred from that so far. And I was given two reasons. One, because there's somebody who behind the scenes has actually been putting out false data about me. The other is because I talk about the alien/AI question that they don't want to bring into the Christian right. So, but what did you want to say about it?
Well, I was part of the media group last year, and I went and I met General Flynn. What that means is probably nothing at all. He actually frequents my hometown because he's become very close friends with a business owner here in town who's become very political. And I guess I don't know exactly what you're referring to, the things that you didn't like that he said, but I do know that he spoke to us in the media in the back room, and it was a 20-minute, dialogue about the importance of just grassroots community work and getting in. So his message is good. And I guess, it just, and I know that it's possible. These people could be putting out, there could be controlled opposition. He's doing some really great work in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of grassroots, people are really taking off, especially in my town and towns across America. So I just hate the thought of thinking that even he isn't good.
Well,
it's hard to imagine who is and who isn't anymore.
Well, understanding this is an intelligence war as much as anything else. And I'm sure he's an expert in intelligence matters. And I know that there's a sort of, if you want to, the White Hats have sort of a top-down organization to some degree, at least. And I realize that we don't see everyone who's on the higher levels. I know Flynn is definitely considered to be on the highest level, along with Trump and 107, who's JFK Jr. So with that in mind, he wouldn't be doing anything or saying anything, it seems to me, without the group approval. Now, like I said, if he's a double agent or he's supposed to play a double role, and that is actually how the White Hats often operate. They do have these people, and I could give you a whole list of them, that are playing the other side for them. You know what I mean? Even doing deeds that we wouldn't consider good deeds. So, that's why I'm saying not to jump to conclusions by what I'm saying here, but to understand the dual role that some people have chosen to play in this sort of theater of war that we're dealing with. So I can tell you on stage that on a very well sort of broadcasted speech, he actually said, he was talking about religions and how there was only going to be a one world religion, in his view, the Christian religion, and that basically going against our Constitution and every reason that the United States was founded was for religious freedom. And so he was speaking against religious freedom in essence, and a sort of a one world government. Now, one could say he got carried away. He was over enthusiastic and started going, thinking his audience is so right wing, he could say whatever he wants to them. But it was publicized, and you could view him saying that, as I'm sure it's still on the internet. So you have to look at that. I'm sorry, but you don't act.
You have to look at everything. I mean, I am on the fence in regards to him. I have Chrissy Tasker knows him. But I trust no one, Carrie, you know that. And I look at all the sides of the fence. I also saw him with Kenneth Copeland, which that concerned me tremendously. Kenneth Copeland is somewhat of a demonic pastor. I've written about the pastors. I've written about the high-ranking Illuminati pastors on my blog, which is shepherd-entertainment.blogspot.com. I haven't written, Carrie, for like a year. You're just killing me. You write every single day. I have to start doing that.
No, I actually don't, but I'd love to, to read your blog. So please send me the link after, during the show or after the show, whenever it's convenient. So then I wanted to get into this article I wrote, and I don't know, did you guys happen? Obviously you, the other hosts here wouldn't necessarily.
Yes, I sent them the link.
Okay.
Can I ask you one question before
Yes.
you move on to a different subject? So you talked about they don't want to bring the alien AI thing into the Christian right. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Right, is that also is very concerning as to why you're being banned from that tour, because as we see right now, AI is prevalent and within the writer's strike, which that's one codicil where they're saying we don't want AI to be writing our script. So they'll take, like say you and I write a script, we write one episode, then they take it and they can compile it and write an entire series. That's just a minor thing, but that's prevalent right now. We're talking about, Google creating an AI god, Google saying that AI can actually create a new religion and write ancient texts. So this is something that needs to be discussed. So I'm dismayed as to why you're not on that tour.
Thank you. There's a big, by the way, just let me get this over with. Perhaps you didn't hear I did a recent show with Patriot Street Fighter, who will be speaking at this new event that's coming up as part of their tour, which is a big deal. It's because it's in Florida. It's at the Doral, which I believe is owned by Trump. And there's a high likelihood Trump's going to be there. They're only allowing 3,000 people to attend, so they're limiting it in that way. And basically, you know, if you can go to the website, which is, I guess, Truth, what do they call themselves? The Reawakening Tour. So I something like that.
Or the Clay Clark Show, I think, as well. Yeah.
Whatever. So just saying that there's a big deal happening the 12th and 13th of this. So the end of the week, that would be Friday and Saturday. And I actually requested a friend to contact Clay Clark and see if I could speak. This is several months ago. That obviously never happened, but I think it's an important event because of the location, because Trump may be involved. I assume 107 is probably going to show up in his normal disguise and so on and so forth, but it's notable. And of course, they've got a lot of the usual suspects and so on as speakers. So moving on from that, your question, I want to answer your question, Teresa. It basically is there are different aspects to it that have kind of blown back on me. One of the things is the alien thing is always an issue, right? Some Christians can handle it, can deal with it. Some only can talk about demons, and therefore it becomes almost a non-issue when you compartmentalize something that way. And everything is in their world. The word demon is evil, angel is good, which is actually incorrect. The real sort of demons and angels, or daemons and angels, are could be either side. Could, you know, you don't know what their mission or they're up to. And so there's that sort of barring in the Christian mind, as far as I'm concerned. The other thing is it's just look at what they talk about. They don't bring in AI. I think in some cases they're actually, you know, the fact that this could be a simulation, that we could be in, you know, in a simulation within a simulation, you know, all these different aspects that do bring in the AI, which is actually, it is satanic. It is basically what I tell people, which is the mirror. So there's source, and then source creates the mirror, and the mirror is AI. And that's where it gets to be the same as Satan or Lucifer. So, and that what happens with the Illuminati and those who follow that path, they fall in love with their own image, in essence. So they're in love with themselves as God, and they discount God, basically, which is kind of insane. I mean, because, you know, and this is another problem, which a lot of the Christian right that I've dealt with, and I was at the reckoning in Texas where the Christian right was really in full force, and I can tell you that they don't. So if they come across something negative, they think it's not God, and something positive, it is God. So you can't separate God that way, because God is everything, and this is, you know, really just logic. And so this is where at the root, if you want to know the root of where the Christian right kind of gets their ducks a little mixed up, if you will. But I mean, and if I talk more about this, I'm just going to raise a lot of problems with them. There are members of that group that are much more open-minded. And when I was at the reckoning, that was in August of 2022, so about 6 months ago or 8 months, whenever it was. And I had people coming up to me all over the place, you know, who had followed my work and had no problem with all the things we're talking about. But there's a contingent, and I was, I don't know if I should go into this, but let me just say, a friend who was one of the speakers didn't want to take their time up speaking, so they wanted to give some of their time to me, but I was told no, I couldn't go on that stage because the Christian right would not like what I had to say. So for what it's worth, just telling you,
That's awful.
this is going on. So okay. Now I just want to bring my article in, if you don't mind, and just show you people this. So I'm bringing it on the screen right here.
Okay,
I think, am I? No, okay.
just
Okay.
present.
No, I guess I don't know how to do that. Maybe you can share it. It doesn't matter, but it's the first article. If you go to my website, projectcamelotportal.com, and everything is pretty much in date order, although sometimes I throw in a very important something from the past. So the name of the article is Eyes on the Prize, the Lives of American People at Risk. And then I've got this, you can't miss it, a blue eye that was actually put out on another article. I forget what, I quote the article, so you can see, and it's about the Digital Identity Act. And it's unbelievable what we're really dealing with here, because on the one hand, we've got people who want to believe something wonderful is going to happen any minute, and med beds, you name it, and I kind of refer to that in my article as well. But on the other hand, we've got so much evidence, at least in our face, okay, as far as how the Illuminati is acting and reacting, that it throws everything into question. So something like the quote from that friend of Flynn can have a lot of weight in the community, although that kind of thing doesn't seem to get out much. Now, basically what I was addressing, I'm addressing several things in this article, and I quote from a couple of links that I had posted on my Telegram. And we're talking about the biological warfare program, and we're talking about Obama, going back to Obama and Hillary. I mean, all of this stuff is planned, and how VP Biden was actually supposedly funded it. And there's a Karen Kingston Substack quote here in that I quote from. And then basically I'm asking people to look at a TV show. Now we know that they do predictive programming, right? So the predictive programming is when they seed the information of what they're actually doing, and this is the Illuminati, of course, to us. And this is a show that's called The Capture, which is you have to purchase it, but I would say it's well worth the money, or you can subscribe to Apple TV. But the second season you do have to, even I had to pay for, which is like $14, $15. So it's not going to break the bank if you have any money at all. But this idea is so blatant in this show that they can actually change everything that a person is saying and doing, and it is amazing, like the way they do it
now.
the way they
Holy.
sorry
I'm reading it right now. The recommended series called The Capture, which is now in its second season on Apple TV, shows how a software program called Correction can manufacture evidence, seamlessly get public figures to say anything they want them to say. The question is, what is the motivation for Trump and the White House to continue their manipulation of the Biden fake regime to perform according to their plans, while putting out all the necessary COG information on how Trump is still president and CIC with the codes? Why would anyone, especially foreign governments, listen to anything Biden and CCP run cohorts say or do? What are the limits to how much control will be exercised to roll out a surveillance CBDC if they allow the destruction of our system with no safety net? Why would the people simply go along with it? In theory, the cutoff date for this dog and pony show has to be around November 2024.
Right. So, but the key thing here is what they're doing in the show. So they are showing you, they've got actually like a lot of it is, this is a British production. So the British are showing the people what they're in theory doing. And there's no way they could go into this amount of detail without actually probably having this software.
Yes.
So what they do is they They have even a member of parliament watch himself giving a speech. In this case, he was actually totally against allowing the software for surveillance and facial recognition to come from China and be installed in the UK. Instead, they've got him saying that, yes, he agrees to let that company completely install their software, and the British people go crazy. This is in the storyline. So what I'm saying here is that when we're seeing, we already know that a lot of what we see on mainstream TV are lies, right?
Yes.
But this is another sort of extension of that. This is even worse. So they're manufacturing, so the guy is watching himself say things he would never say, and the people think that he is therefore turned into a bad guy. So he has to resign. I mean, this kind of thing going on. So now I don't know that reality would mimic this exactly. It's possible. It's a cautionary.
It's very possible.
It's a cautionary tale. But this is the kind of thing where if it's predictive programming, since the British government is making the series, it's worth noting, because a lot of times when they do predictive programming, as you may know, is they'll put something in a movies or TV, and then it could be
Correct.
a month or two later, it could be 6 months, could be a year, could be 5 years. They will actually do whatever it is they showed you, right? That's what we have 100 million examples of that. So just wanting to draw people's attention to that. Now, the other thing that I'm saying here is, and I can pause here and go on to the next point if people want to react.
Well, I would actually like to react. As you know, when I got locked up because I was an enemy of the state under Clapper, I found out that there was a television series which was basically about me. And I'm still trying to figure out how they did that. I don't understand it. But there's about 1,000 threads that point all to me. The series I'm talking about is Netflix Stranger Things, and the character 11. And I'm still trying to figure out how they did that. And I wasn't even unaware of the fact that that series existed until it was pointed out to me by somebody. And when I looked at it, I contacted my handler and said, I know that that's me. My very first handler, who I believe is the son of Albert Spears. So, it's not just like, I don't actually use the word predictive. I don't know whatever other word to use, but that's the word that's been proffered. But how are they writing about? And I don't believe the Duffer Brothers even know I exist, because when I started writing Bradford and Valentine, I found out I was writing about real people. So how is this possible that they have written an entire series with a person that basically is me, even to the point where the little girl's wearing the same dress that I had when I was 4 years old?
Well, the only thing I want to inject on what you're saying, which I'm sure it's you're like the character, and your life could even mimic that story. But I think there are a number of such characters. I don't think you're the only one. With all due respect,
There are, but
this is a program, this is a program. Yeah.
There's about 1,000 threads that point that is actually me, and I don't know how they're doing that.
Well,
it's
a counterintelligence operation. So we have two wings of our bird, right? We have our DC wing, agency, those guys. And then we have our counterintelligence wing, which is literally on the left coast. And that's what our entertainment is. It's priming our population to accept certain principles, like you were discussing with the British show. And then it makes you look ridiculous. So for example, if you say, well, that's my story because I've had that experience. And if you say, well, wow, that's my story. Oh my gosh, somebody made a movie about me.
Yeah, it's not just my story. I mean, it's called Stranger Things. I was married to a man named Steve Zenos. His name means stranger. I had a band named Stranger. The little girl's name is Jane Ives. I was raised in Ives Estates. I went to Mady Ives Elementary School.
Yeah,
I
but
know
that's,
So I think they deliberately do that, so then you can't come forward, because if you come forward then and say, oh my gosh, that's me. Actually, I think you saw there was a comment on Twitter, the guy said, she's not basically he said that was crazy talk. But so it's a counterintelligence operation to sort of get in front of people and put the story out, and then if you say, oh, well, that's my story, then you got that from TV. That was a movie. Stop watching movies. It's a way to discredit you. And it's very effective.
well,
it's
but it
more-
is a
more in line-
program. I
Yeah,
mean,
more
I'm
in line
sorry, I have to say, and
Yeah.
Penny, you're welcome on my show. I would love to talk about all this with you
Yeah. This is
anytime,
off point, and I'm sorry.
No, no, it's important. I would say even I can see elements in that story that are like me. Okay. So
Right.
because I was born, the only kid in my family born in Moffett Field Hospital. Turns
Oh,
out
wow.
that I was genetically engineered at a certain point before I was born. There's evidence of that, and so on and so forth. So I know there are a lot of people that are, they've been doing this program. This is a program. When you have a program, they use certain formulas. I mean, there are all kinds of formulas, and I've interviewed a number of people who would say the same exact thing. So, there are words, trigger words, and certainly stranger, I'm sure, would be one of them. There's the whole Alice in Wonderland thing. There's so many of these MK Ultra type things, programs going on. And because they're programs, they use similar, comes from Tavistock Institute, comes from the Rand Corporation. Penny, I'm sure you know all that. So not to discount any of that, but just saying. Now, okay, so I do want to continue on just the rest of the points of the article, if that's okay, unless somebody has something really important they want to interject here. Go ahead.
I just think it's really important to say more along the lines of what you were saying, Carrie, that transhumanism is a very dangerous thing, and it's being ushered in by AI. Transhumanism is they literally want to remove God. They want to remove us, and they want to make us, half cyborg, half human, and very controllable. And I'm fearing that this is probably what the jab was about, and so many other things.
Yes.
So this is very satanic. It's very demonic. I believe this is why they're trying to get us. So, transgenderism is becoming very commonplace now. That's leading into transhumanism. It's becoming very commonplace. So very evil.
Yes,
indeed.
I've done shows about this. I've done articles about this, and I've been doing articles about this from much longer than it even became in vogue to talk about. So yes, totally 100% agree. And yes, if you want to know that, I can back up that the jab is part of the transhuman thing. Oh God, what just happened? Hello? Oh no. Okay. Okay, I just got kicked out. I mean, I don't know what happened.
As what else? At the same time, what we hear are millions of illegal immigrants are streaming into our borders, being given money and even citizenship and voting rights in prep for the presidential election. One broadcaster suggests that the movie Red Dawn is in motion, which I believe that is true. He seems to think that includes Russia. She says, I don't. Putin is working with the White Hats, and I agree with that, at least helping them to clean out a cesspool of money laundering, human trafficking, and experimentation via U.S. biolabs in Ukraine, and Russia is our partner in the secret space program, which, by the way, cannot have been idle while this charade with Biden has been going on. Let me see if she's back. She is.
Okay, sorry. I just got put into nowhere land, but okay, so what happens is, thank you for reading some of that. That's really kind of you. So what I wanted to talk about, I'm going to get back here, is the fact that if above that, before, I don't know if you read this part, because I don't know how long,
Yes,
it's
I
gone.
read this paragraph right here.
So the idea here that Juan talks a lot about, which is 17 intelligence agencies, and I'm very struck by this. I don't know what other people think, okay? But when you look at the 2020 election and you look at Radcliffe as being more or less the head of a pyramid of 17, some of the best, supposedly the best intelligence agencies in the world, but certainly in the United States, and that none of them wanted to furnish him with a report that would help him on his conclusion that the Chinese, and I was reading this article that I'm referencing here, I put a link, actually says he said it was not just China, it was also Russia and Iran. Now, one has never referred to Russia and Iran as being part of that package. This article says Radcliffe referred to them as well. But what's important is that they didn't back him up. They wouldn't give him their reports, which they were supposed to do by December 18th. And then even after that, they still didn't, up to the time that Biden was sworn in. And part of the Brunson case, in case you haven't been following that, is the fact that they never investigated. The Congress never, even though 100 members of Congress were aware of what I'm telling you now, they never investigated. So the whole, this is what I'm stressing. If you understand what this is telling you, it's telling you that we've got 17 intelligence agencies, maybe all 16, maybe all 17, are filled with what is in essence treasonous traitors, and so is Congress. This is our government, okay? Our government has been fully infiltrated, taken over, and is now run by these people. Now, in theory, the White Hats are a pushback on all of that. I appreciate that, and I'm very much in favor of them being who they are. However, when you look at that and think about these people sitting in these offices, in the United States, going through and doing whatever operations these people still do nowadays, and how they can be stopped, I'm really not sure. You're thinking, do you have to understand that these people are committing what is absolutely treason in our government? And so we've got these treasonous individuals going along with business as usual for the past since 2020. He was it's the end of 2020 when the election was stolen. So it's actually 2021, 2022, and 2023. So it's 3 years of us being completely controlled under this 2020 election. So this is, it's monumental, really. And the fact that no one in the mainstream, of course, enlightens the rest of the public. I mean, my family have no idea. They are not researchers. They don't follow my work. I know everyone that I meet, they say the same thing about their families, that they're completely clueless. And the beat just goes on in the mainstream. And, yes, every once in a while we get somebody like Tucker who comes forward and now is somehow either he tried to get himself fired, or he was fired, or whatever, however you want to slice and dice that. I believe that he was, what he basically appears to have done is, in a period of about a year and a half, made a transition from being part of the sort of Democratic left to the right, and actually joining the White Hats on some level. So that's what got him, in essence, let go or fired, and I think he also designed it to be fired. So, because you can't stay with a round peg in a square hole for very long. So, and they're predicting, by the way, in case you didn't catch this, that Maria Bartiromo, I don't,
Bartiromo.
Yes, and there's one other person who are supposedly going to demolish themselves the same way. They're going to get themselves. Sorry,
she's still going strong.
I know, but I'm just telling you what this. I think it was one that probably said this.
I agree.
It could have been someone else. I'm just telling you that they also are going to do the same thing. They're going to get themselves fired by Fox. And the idea is, where are these people going to end up, and what's going to happen as a result of that? Because, in case you guys don't know, CNN, this is very low key. CNN was bought by a friend of Trump's. His name is Chris Licht. He bought it a year ago. And this cannot be, this is not just a coincidence. It's not just a casual thing. This is a media kind of mogul type guy who obviously was on the same message as the White Hats, has now bought CNN a year ago. They didn't tell us, like, and maybe it was in small print or something. I don't fucking know, but sorry, but still, this angers me, because this is how the White Hats are operating their modus operandi. Okay. He didn't change anything overtly in CNN.
No.
CNN was still going along with the same bullshit. But this
Right.
guy, but maybe some tweaks have been done behind the scenes. Now they let go Lemon. Now maybe that was part of the move, a move. And who knows where it heads. But to me, the logic is, because I was saying, when I heard Tucker left Fox, I was saying, well, then the White Hats should buy CNN, not knowing that they'd already done so.
Right.
So, this is what I'm saying here, is that we're in a very aggravating fight, because instead of us being able to jump on a bandwagon and say, rah, rah, we're for you, we're behind you, and they tell us what they're doing, the heroic things they're doing on our behalf, they don't. Okay, they hide them. They do.
Interestingly, Trump is going to be on a town hall on CNN, which is very surprising. You wouldn't expect him to be
Well, there you
on
go.
CNN. So the fact that maybe Trump's friend purchased CNN could be a positive thing, but you don't know me, Carrie, but I always try to find like a little sliver of sunlight somewhere, because if not,
No, I mean, this is obvious.
bury our
What
hands.
I am saying, and no, this is not a sliver of sunlight. This is absolutely unequivocal, is what I'm saying. I'm
Okay,
saying
cool.
that a year ago, a friend of Trump, this is not an accident. I am saying that
Right.
this trend, but they're doing a transition in a slow, stealthy way, not to raise any,
Right.
I don't know, undue attention from the dark hats audience side. And that is a very interesting dichotomy, which I would like to talk about just briefly here. And I don't know if I'm out of time already, so tell me if I am.
We have about 9 minutes.
Okay, because I don't think people really realize what this exact thing is that they do. Okay, which is everything to do with the disguise that Juan Savin continues to wear, which is laughable. The thing is that when they come out as who they are and what they're doing, okay, so if he was to come out as who he is, which is, by the way, under continuity of government, he is our vice president. He is John F. Kennedy Jr. And the reason he has been dragging this disguise out for so long is in part because what happens is the Illuminati go crazy, not because you do something against them, but because what you do brings in the audience. Okay. And so if the audience were to know the real truth about any of this stuff, I mean, unequivocally, it would be like mainstream. Then they have a problem, because then they don't command the airwaves. And this is where they would do payback. So this is why there's this push me, pull me, stealthy actions of the White Hats. Yes, it's in the law of war. I mean, not law of war, the art of war manual.
Yes.
Thing. There's
Yeah.
a law of war manual and there's the art of war. Okay, so it's in the art of war. Yes, you're always supposed to act stealthy. You're never supposed to be who you really are. You're never supposed to show your strength. You're supposed to pretend to be weak. Even getting back to this statement by General Flynn, supposedly to this group of men who I'm now relating to you, maybe even said with the intention that it would reach me and I would go with it, right? This is the kind of thing they do.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is it's a steering thing. What they're steering is not individuals, okay? It's not the individual, it's what the impact of the individual would be. And in the case of JFK Jr., the impact would be great. That, I think, that much could be understood. So this is why we have to wait. And I don't know if it'll ever happen that these people will come out in as who they truly are and so on. There's so much going on here that is in my article that I'm not having time to talk about, but I really urge you to sort of consider the idea. There's also, I talked about it last time, but it's still very important. Supposedly, according to, this article from this Real Raw News that basically talked about the move of taking their prisoners from Guantanamo to Guam. And the thing is that it could be looked at a lot of different ways. What occurs to me is that it's not just that they can protect themselves better and their so-called tribunals and prisoners from the deep state, who even in the article, the person says is still more or less in control of the United States, which is not good news, right? For what it's worth, take it for what it's worth. But if they battle with the deep state, this is the thing, it will be covert. Again, they're moving from 90 miles offshore of the United States to Guam, which is, I don't even know how many miles away. In other words, they could do battles there all night and all day, and we would never be the wiser. Do you understand? This is what they're hiding. They're hiding the fact that they are at civil war, that our militaries are fighting our military. In other words, that we have a war inside the United States that no one talks about or acknowledges, especially, our friends and family who have absolutely no clue. If they do something.
Carrie, I really agree with you on that. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go.
But I think we're really seeing that with Havana syndrome. They're using news to nuke kids, and they're hitting children. In fact, 60 Minutes did a piece on the youngest victims of Havana syndrome, and you can look that up on YouTube. So we're absolutely in a covert war, and with the deep state going after itself. And actually, I was really impressed to see that CNN did a piece on it, and it's on my Twitter. And CNN actually even admitted that, some of these Havana syndrome victims who are getting satellite dew weapons to the head, that sometimes they even hear messages or they hear words. And I thought, wow.
That's real old school, but yeah, okay, voice to skull.
Yeah.
So
But
yes, I appreciate that.
Did that, and yeah, it's making the news. You just have to have the eyes to see.
Yes, but they don't. Okay, so what I'm saying, yes, we do. But you know what? When you preach to the choir, who's the wiser? This is my problem, okay? Because I am very concerned about all of America, not just a certain portion. And I see the way this operation is going. It's continued to go that way. It's actually been going on, well, I think 7 years, as Trump said. And so what we're talking about is that if you don't know you have an enemy, and the enemy is hidden, and the more hidden the enemy is and under disguise and pretending to be one thing when they're really another. In other words, these people they're not trained. They didn't grow up, see, if you grew up in the Soviet Union, you learned. And I've always been very, sort of pleased when I met a Russian person, because they're always very, very hip. They know that governments lie to you. They know that the whole thing is a farce. They know this from day one when they're born and taught. Okay. They know that your neighbor could rat you out any day of the week.
Right.
They lived in that society forever. But in America, we had this farcical idea. It's a lovely fantasy that we were living in a free country, which was becoming less free ever since, really, I would say really not the 1940s. World War II was the cutting edge. Basically, when they brought the Nazis over with paperclip, they were basically saying that we didn't win the war, that we merged sides, that we in essence brought the Nazis into our regime.
Operation Paperclip, that's exactly right.
So our country changed then. Okay, here we are. This is like 70 years later or whatever it is. I mean, please think about this. There's a great movie, which it's called, I think it's called Don't Worry, Darling. this out came out recently, and I did a whole piece on it and so on and so forth. If you haven't seen it, you absolutely must see it. It's all about the MK Ultra programming. I have a friend, I'm not going to say who it is, who said that was, you know, how you think Stranger Things is your life. Penny, this person thinks Don't Worry Darling is their life. It's all about the 1950s, the secret space program that was going on and operational, and how the women were taught to dress and act, the Stepford wife kind of thing. It's, you know, that was our life. I'm not kidding. This is like so important, because fast forward to now, and you wonder why these people just have no clue whatsoever. They bought the Kool-Aid so long
I feel
ago.
like MK Ultra is being ramped up right now with a lot of these shootings and a lot of things. I think we're seeing it much more than we ever have in the past.
is
And we're
indeed.
probably going to be even more so, unfortunately.
Well, ladies,
Yes.
unfortunately, we're running out of time. Carrie, let's focus next time, a little bit more on your writings. Because I feel remiss that we didn't get to all the stuff that we needed to. And I want to thank Tara Creek from Sacred Valley Podcast, Teresa Tyndall, and, you know, I'm gonna zip it a little bit more when you're on next time.
I love it. I just wish we had a little more time for dialogue, but you're welcome on my show.
Love you, Carrie Cassidy. Please
Thank you.
join Project Camelot. To me, you are just much more than an American hero. You're an international hero, and you present all sides of the situation. Well, on behalf of the Wave Nation and David Zublick and myself, Penny L.A. Shepherd, I want to thank you all for joining us in this last hour, our 5th hour. We'll be on tomorrow from 8 to 1 Central and from 9 to 2 Eastern time. And we're out of time, so we're out of here. Thank you so very much. See you tomorrow.
Thanks.